Hi, Len. Yeah. So we are live.
Okay.
Welcome. So hey, folks. Today we are having Jada with us. She'll be enlightening us on the topic on how to build APIs with Node.js and Express. Jada is one of the student leaders of Postman, and we are really excited to have you with us. Over to you, Jada.
Thank you, Pranav. Hello, everybody. Like he said, my name is Jada. I am a student at the University of Minnesota, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build an API with Node.js and Express.js. So with that, I'll get started sharing my screen. Um, let Actually, one second. I'm going to move all these to a different tab.
Sure, sure.
So first I'm going to show you some of the dependencies you should probably have before starting this. Okay, let me share here. The first thing, okay, yeah, can you put my screen up, on the screen? Thank you. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to have is probably Git. We're going to be using Git in this workshop to clone a repository, so you should probably have Git. And then let me stop sharing. And then another thing you're going to want to have is Visual Studio Code downloaded. Visual Studio Code is really useful for you can just open up a terminal and you can edit all your text files right in line. So that's really nice. And then lastly, you're going to want to have Node.js. Let me just look it up real quickly. You can download Node.js just by looking up Node.js. You're going to need this for downloading all our dependencies, and you just need Node.js to build an API. So those are the three things you need. And there's one more. You're also going to want to make a Postman account. You can just go look up Postman. We're going to be using this to test our API, and there's also a link to the workspace that I created. Let me just open this up in a new window. One second. Okay. Yeah, I made this this workspace, and this is what we're going to be using to test our API. If you're not familiar with Postman, it's where you can send HTTP requests like get, delete, and post. You can also use the browser to test an API, but we're going to use Postman because it's easier to send like delete and post requests than it is like just going in your browser. So yeah, those are the four things you should probably have for Git, Node.js, Postman, and Visual Studio Code, or you can use any text editor of your choice. So if we have that started, I will get started. Let me put this. Sorry for all the sharing. Let
Not
me
a problem.
let me share this also. Okay, so this link should have been shared with you. This is the GitHub repository we're going to be working from. This is all the code for our API. So if you don't know how to you're going to want to clone this like in Visual Studio Code. So if you just copy this link that goes when you go to code, and then I'll show you what it looks like. And then I'm going to share a Visual Studio Code window. Okay, let me just open a new one. Okay. Yeah, so when you open Visual Studio Code, it should look like this. Can you see that? Okay. Is it up there? Okay.
I think it's yeah.
Oh, it's
Sorry for the lag. It's
okay.
actually lagging a little.
Oh, okay. I think it's good now. Okay, so this is
Yes.
what Visual Studio Code should look like when you open it. So you can just open a new folder, and I think you could just like make it on your desktop or something. I already have one open. So I'm gonna open this. You can wait 1 second. I don't think that shared. But I think yeah, you can just open a folder and it'll show up. Like if you open that, I already have one here, but I don't know. Okay, then it doesn't share. 1 second. And then I'm gonna close this window, and then let me share this. Okay, it's right here. Okay, and then I already have it up on my computer, but if you don't, I think you should open it like this, and then I think you write git clone. Wait, let me open a new terminal. Yeah, so I think you would just write git clone, and then you would just copy that in. Let me see if it does that. Yeah, and then it changes it into that Git repository that I showed you. Okay, and then I will just kind of show you what this looks like when it starts. Okay, it did that. I'm just going to delete that because I have this here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Our package.json file is just, it has this script start that it'll run our index whenever it opens. So I'll show you our index.js. And in index.js, we just have const app equals require app, and that's the app file is going to be where all of our API code is. So we're going to write all that together. And then HTTP, that's just creating our server. So we use the HTTP library to just create our server that our API will be running on. And then we just want to listen to it on port 3001. And if you're not sure what that means, it's just like a port on your computer that our requests will be listened to. And then we have this logger. That's a file in utils. And that's just, it basically just is console log, but it looks cleaner to just put logger.info. So I just put it in this logger file. That's all for our utils. And then in our app.js file, I have some example data because we're going to be creating a users API where you can get users, delete users, and add users. So that's what we're going to be making today. And so basically, yeah, we're going to put all of the code for our API in this app file, and then that's what will be listened for by this index.js file. So let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, you're going to want to open up your terminal right here, and you're going to want to do npm install express. And Express is what we're using to create our API. Express is a really great JavaScript framework where you can build APIs pretty quickly and easily, and it's pretty easy to use. So another thing we're going to want to install is NodeDaemon. So you're going to want to npm install NodeDaemon. And what NodeDaemon is, it's a really nice dependency where if you change package.json and if you just change this to NodeDaemon index.js, each time you change any files, you won't have to restart the server. Because if you just have NodeDaemon, just Node and not NodeDaemon, every time you change the server, you're going to have to restart it for the changes to take place. So that's a really nice dependency to have. I'll just save that. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just import Express. And how you do that in Node.js is you write const express equals require and then Express. And then we're going to want to make an app. So const app equals Express. And that's just making an Express instance. Okay, and that's all you need just to get an Express app off the ground. It's really nice. And then at the bottom, we're going to want to remember to export it so then index.js can use it. So module.exports equals app. Okay, and that's basically all you need to get started. So let's write our first endpoint. And what an API endpoint is, it's basically like a link you can go to, kind of. It's like a link you can go to in your browser, and then our API code will send a response back. So let's write that. So how you write an endpoint is you're going to write app.get. And get, it means we're doing a get request to get information from the server. There's a lot of different requests you can make with APIs. You can make a get request, a delete request, which is deleting something from a server, a post request, which is adding something to a server, a put request, which is changing something to a server. But get is kind of the simplest. You're just getting information, and then the server is going to send it back to you. So we're going to start with a get request. So this is a function. It takes two arguments. The first is the actual endpoint you want, and we're just going to do /. And this will just be localhost.3001 because we're running this on port 3001 just on our local machine. So it'll be localhost 3001, and then we won't have anything after that. It'll just be that. And then the second argument it takes is a callback function with the request and the response. So you're going to put request and response in parentheses, and then we're going to just write an arrow function right now. And then, so for our first one, we're just going to do a basic kind of hello world just to show you kind of how it works. So yeah, you're just going to want to write, I think it's response.send, and then just an h1 tag, hello world, and then and the h1 tag, and then it should show up. So how you start the server, you're going to want to go back to your terminal and then just type npm start because we have that script running. So then the nodemon starts, and then you can just click this localhost. Let me share, I can show you. It opened up in my browser. So I'm going to share my localhost. Okay, and then you can see it sends back hello world. So that's basically how the API works. And you can see in the browser, it's just localhost 3001 because that's what our server is running on. So how it works is if you put that in your browser, like I did, and you just click on it from the terminal link, then our API sends back hello world. And that's kind of how it works. It's just a bunch of requests and responses. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to the code now. Okay. Okay. So that's kind of your basic request and response. That's kind of the most basic one you can make. So now I want to use this data we have now. This is just, my idea was to just have it like a bunch of users and like their favorite subject, like in school. And we can use that to kind of show how to use it. Oops. Okay. So I think the first thing we would want to do is just get all of the users. So how you're going to write that is it's going to be the same thing, app.get, but we're going to want a different endpoint this time to differentiate it from our hello world endpoint. So I'm just going to call the endpoint users. So now whenever we go to localhost 3001/users, it should give us this information that we're going to write. And then it's the same thing. We're going to write request-response for the callback function. And then, and this time I'm going to use this data that we already have. Okay, so how you would write this, it's basically the same thing. You just put response, but instead of doing send, we're going to want to do JSON because our user's information is written in JSON format. We're just going to want to do response.json users. Save that. Let me make sure. And then you can look in the terminal, see that Nodemon restarted because our changes were made. Okay, and let me check that this is working. Okay. I'm going to share my browser again. Okay. And here you can see once we do that endpoint and we hit /users, you're going to have to type localhost :3001/users in your browser. And you can see that all of our users are returned as JSON here. So we made a request to localhost :3001/users, and our API returned this information. So that's basically how the GET request works for all the users. Let me go back to the code. Okay. So that's basically how it worked for getting all the users. So now we're just going to try to get one user. So say we just want information about Lada Lovelace. We don't want everybody else's information. Okay, so how you do that is it's still going to be a GET request because we're still just getting information. But and it's still going to be /users because we're still getting information about our users. But we're going to add this special thing. It's going to be :ID. So what the colon does is it basically indicates that we're going to have a parameter there. Instead of just doing /users, we're just going to have a parameter. So you can put an ID in of the user that you want. So if we put ID 1, we should get information about Ada Lovelace up here. Okay. So then we're going to do the same thing. Callback, request response, arrow function. Okay. And we're going to want to get the ID. So, one second. How you do that is basically you just have to get the ID by doing const ID equals request, because we're getting it from the request, and then .params .id. But the thing is, we're going to want to change it to a number because all parameters are strings by default, and our IDs are numbers up here. So we're going to want to change it to a number. And then, so now we want to get the actual person from our users list. So we're going to use the JavaScript find function. So we're going to, the user that we want is going to be const user. And then we're going to search in our users array to find. And we're just going to want to do, find takes a function. So we're going to want to do where the user ID equals the ID from our parameters. And then we're going to want to send the JSON of that user, response.json user. And then if we do localhost :3001/users/ colon, or just one, I'll show you in a second, it should return Ada Lovelace. So let me start. And then let's check in Nodemon at the bottom here. It did show that it's restarting. So I'm just going to click on this link. I'll stop sharing, share my browser again. Let me get to users/1. Okay. Okay, let me share my browser here. Okay, and then you can see I went to localhost :3001/users/ /1. So that 1 is going to be our ID parameter. And as you can see, the user with ID 1 was returned. We got Ada Lovelace back and her favorite subject, science. And if we change this to 2 up here, we get the person with ID 2. And you can do the same thing with 3 or whatever kind of users you want. Okay. So that's pretty cool. We can just get a single user. Okay. And now I want to show you how to delete a user. So let me go back to the code. Okay. All right. So we were using a bunch of GET requests. Now I'm going to show you how you can do a delete request to delete a user from the server. So instead of GET, you're going to want to do app.delete. And it's going to be the same thing, /users /:ID. Because we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use the parameter sent with the request to delete the user instead of, just getting it. So we're going to have to add a callback function, request response. And then we're going to do the same thing, get the ID from the parameters and turn it into a number so it'll fit with our data. Request.params ID. Okay, and now instead of just getting it, we're going to want to delete it. So how we're going to do that is we're going to use the filter function in JavaScript. So we're not going to reassign. We're going to reassign this user's data up here. So up here, I did use let instead of const. And in JavaScript, if you use let, you can reassign this variable. So we're going to reassign the user's variable, and we're going to use the filter function to filter out whatever user we want to delete. So reassigning users, we're going to do users.filter, and then we're just going to want to make sure that the user ID does not equal user.id does not equal ID. So then this filter function will give us all the users that don't have the same ID as the one that we want to delete. And then we're going to send response. We're going to send a 204 code because 204 just means no content, and that's usually what you send whenever you just make like a delete request to a server. Okay, that should work. So now instead of going to the browser, because it's kind of, you can't really see the status code unless you like go into the developer tools, I'm going to switch over to that Postman collection. So I'm going to show you the Postman collection. 1 second, let me find this. Okay, give me 1 second. I need to reopen this. Okay, I found it.
Hope everybody is following through. Yeah, Jada has been great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Let me share this. Okay. Okay. I did share my screen. Okay. So this is the Postman. It should have been sent to you, the Postman workspace. So you can use this to test the API if it's running on your local machine. We can just send the get all users one, and you can see it's the same thing as if you're doing it in the browser. You just get all the users. Postman's pretty simple to use. You can just like send requests, and this is the URL. So it's a pretty simple user interface. So now we're going to want to delete a user. So what you do is, you want to change over here. It was just get. We were getting all the users. This is how you change the request type. So now we're going to want to use a delete request type, and we're going to want to delete a user. So just change it to delete, and then localhost :3001 is where it's running, and we're going to do /users/1, and that hopefully should delete just the first person. We're going to send that, and you see we did get 204 no content back, and that's what we're expecting, because in our code we said status 204, so that's good. So now if we go to get all users, you can see that Ada got deleted, and if we did the same thing with 2, our second user should also be deleted, and we can get all users again, and there you go. Only the person with ID 3 is left. So that's how you go about deleting a user. And the last thing I do want to show is how to add a user. I didn't test this. I tried to test it a little bit before, so we can see if we can do it. So let me go back to the code. I did try it before I started this, and I was having issues, so let's see how this goes. So let's open this up. So that's how you delete. Oh, and I will be posting this finished code to GitHub after this workshop, so if it is a little fast, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get through everything as fast as I can, but hopefully this can be recorded or something, and I will post this to GitHub so you can look at this code afterwards and just like play around with it. So let
Yeah.
me go.
So we have this record. We'll have this recorded, and anyone who wants to go through this, we can just go through our YouTube channel. That's not a
Okay,
problem. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that'll be good. Sorry if I am going a little bit fast. I didn't prepare too much for this workshop, but hopefully you're getting something out of it. Okay, so and the last thing I want to show you is how to add a user. So whenever you're adding something, you're going to use a post request. So you're going to want to do app.post, and we're going to want to go to users, but we're not going to do ID this time because we're going to send a request body. So do the same thing, add a callback function, request, response, and then we're going to want to do, instead of, okay, let me look at my notes. We're going to want to get the body, because we're going to send a body with this one. So const user equals request, and I'll show you what that means when I switch over to Postman. So we're going to get the user from the request.body, and we're going to set the user ID equal just to 4, because that's the next one. And you would probably do something different if you were actually building an API, but that's fine for our example. And then you're going to want to change the users array, because we're going to be adding. So we're going to use the JavaScript concat function, and you'll just add a user. And then you're going to want to send the user back. So response.json user. I'm not sure if this will work because it didn't work when I was trying earlier, but we'll see. So, okay, let me go back to my Postman, and I'll show you how to add a request body. Right here. Okay. Okay. So, is this... Okay, is this up on the screen? Okay, thank you. So, you're going to want to go to the add new user one, and then change this to post. And we're just going to want to post it to localhost 3001/users. And how you add a body in Postman is you're going to want to go to the body tab and change this to raw JSON because we're just going to send JSON to our server. That's usually what works. And you can just add some, I added some example data for just adding a random user. So how JSON works is you're going to want to put the subject first and then whatever value it is. So I think I did get an error when I sent this earlier. Yeah, I got an error, cannot post/users. Okay, let me look at the code 1 second. Um, 1 second. So it does say /users. Cannot post to /users. Okay. I'm not sure why it's doing that because I did have it to post/users, but if you, I wanted to also share something in the chat. Here, I'm gonna put a link in the private chat. I want to show you a website I use to learn APIs.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna put this. Okay, there's this really great website. Actually, let me share my screen because I'm not sure why that's working. Why it's not working right now, but I could probably figure it out if I had more time. But let me share. This is a wonderful website right here. I'll put it up on the screen. This is how I learned to build APIs, and it's basically if you were confused during any parts of this workshop, I basically took everything from this website. If you go to course contents and then programming a server with Node.js and Express, it's basically the same thing. You can learn how to build an API, but they kind of go slower than I did. They do show you how to receive data. I don't know why mine's not working right now, but I would definitely recommend this website if you want to dive further into APIs and you also want to start building your own APIs. This is really a helpful website. And yeah, I think that will conclude my workshop. If anybody, because I kind of showed you how to um, use Node to have a GET request and also delete. The post request didn't really work out, but if you guys have any questions right now, I would be happy to answer any questions. And if you don't, I can also give my
Yeah,
information if you want to like
yeah.
message me.
Actually, you know what? This website you just gave us, this was something I was going through today morning itself. It was a coincidence, but I just went through. It was the first time I saw this, and it was really helpful. Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing this. If anybody has any questions, they can just send it in the chat box.
yeah. Yeah, it's a really great website. And also, if you're interested in doing like front end stuff with React and JavaScript, that's also a really great website. It's basically how I learned everything I know. So, if you want to learn about this stuff, I would definitely recommend that website.
Yeah, really good. I think there are no more questions. This was actually a great workshop. Thanks, Jada. This was really lovely. We have shared the links, and we'll also be sharing these links in Discord. So please join us there as well. Thanks a lot. Uh, this was actually a really great workshop. Bye bye, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for having me, everyone. And I will post. I will send the GitHub link to the finished code, and hopefully you can put that in the Discord.
Yeah, for sure. I'll put that.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.